ordinary language lang po ginagamit natin if we are talking about to prose. Kasi nga po, don't need to be scanned. Hindi naman po natin kailangang i-scanned ang isang prose. Unlike the poetry, yan na. Kailangan lagi mong ipaliwanag what is your understanding for the word, what is your opinion, what is the symbolic. Yan, laging may ganon pag sinabi natin poetry. Okay? Continue si ma'am. So both prose and poetry share many elements. As a result, prose and poetry may be taught of as two levels of playing, each moving in different directions, but somewhat overlapping at their common end. Yun na. So, ang prose and poetry, nga po, define natin, of course, alam natin na sila po ay magkaiba. But then again, kahit na yung isa ay going to left, at ang isa ay going to right, still, at the end, pareho pa rin po silang dalawa. Tingnan natin. Eventually, prose draws elements from verse, and poetry draws elements from prose, until each reaches the finite point where the prose becomes poetry, and poetry becomes prose. When a literary piece is written with a particular attention to its beauty and special attention to its meaning, then the language used is called poetic prose. Okay. Kapag daw po, ikaw reader, ay may nabasang isang academic text, and so, na-catch nito ang iyong attention because of its beauty. Okay? Because of the meaning of that academic text. Tinatawag daw po itong poetic prose. Meaning to say, pag sinabi nating poetic prose, ito po ay pinaghalong poetry at saka po ng prose. Ibig sabihin nun, consider this prose form a poem without traditional line, divisions, or length. Yun naman talaga. Wala po siyang traditional divisions of line, length, traditional divisions of line. Kapag po prose, if you are talking about the prose, no? Prose poem, wala po yan. But Charles Baudelaire noticed the prose elements at work, such as the both left and right, margin, justification. Each line starts and finishes at the same point, and paragraph identification. All right. Si ma'am ay may ipababasa. And panganiban, did I tell you that you need to cut a piece of paper and kindly write the name of your classmate?
Si Kayla po, kay Vale po.
Si Vale na paggawa ni ma'am. Vale, did I tell you name?
Yes po, ma'am. Nakagawa naman po.
Did it? Okay, thank you so much. So, kindly read, okay? Be drunk, and so, give your own opinion para po dito. So, tatawag si ma'am, isa lang po ang babasa, yung bumasang iyo, magbibigay siya ng opinion. Pagkatapos tatawag ulit si ma'am ng dalawa pa to give also the opinion. Okay, so bali tatlo ang tatawagin ni ma'am. Vale, may you please pick one piece of paper with name? Ayan. Bukas ang camera. Talagang very fair. Ano, Ineng? Sino bansa? Basta wala ikaw, Mike.
Si Kadapan po.
Kadapan. Kadapan?
Lahat po yan, yung nasa screen po.
Yes, lahat po yan. Kindly read. Parang may nervous ka sa pagbasa, Kadapan.
Okay po.
Okay, go.
Be drunk. You have to be always drunk. That's all there is to it. It's the only way. So as not to feel the horrible burden of time that breaks your back and bends you to the earth, you have to be continually drunk. But on what? Wine, poetry, or virtue, as you wish, but be drunk. And if sometimes on the steps of a palace or the green grass of a ditch. In the mournful solitude of your room, you wake again, drunkenness already diminishing or gone, as the wind, the wave, the star, the bird, the clock, everything that is flying, everything that is groaning, everything that is rolling, everything that is singing, everything that is speaking. As what time it is and wind, wave, star, bird, clock will answer you. It is time to be drunk, so as not to be the martyred slaves of time. Be drunk, be continually drunk, on wine, on poetry, or on virtue as you wish.
Okay, what can you say? Ano pagkakaintindi mo sa binasa mo, kadapat?
Ano po, parang yung pinaka-thoughts po nung binasa ko, parang yung golden line po na go with the flow sa life natin. Kasi po, tulad nga po nung sinabi na everything is flying, everything that is groaning, everything that is rolling. Kumbaga lahat po ng bagay umiikot, dapat sumasabay tayo dun sa pag-ikot na yun o yung sa pagdaan ng araw na yun. So, kaya sinabi na dapat lagi tayong mag-inom. So, hindi naman, yun nga sabi, kung wine daw ba, poetry or virtue. So, parang sa ano na yun, sa part na yun, parang lahat yun kailangan natin. Kasi kung sa wine naman, syempre, ang kaya tayo nagiinom ng wine para minsan celebration ng kung anong success or minsan naman kung may part sa life natin na medyo malungkot, syempre magiinom tayo tapos yun nga, sabi poetry and virtue. So yun, parang sinisimbolo lang po nung binasa ko yung sinabi ko nga po na go with the flow lang para po maituloy natin yung buhay natin.
Okay. Very good. Very well said. Okay? Very good. So, if you think nakakatulong ito, kasi sometimes we drink alcohol because we're happy. We need to celebrate something. Sometimes we drink alcohol kasi meron kang kaibigan na kailangan niya ng karamay. Sometimes we drink alcohol because we're sad. No? So, sabi doon, if, kung makakatulong to sa'yo, go be it. Okay? So, very good. Very well said. What else? What is your opinion? Vale, may you please call someone?
Belaro po.
Sino yun?
Bilaro.
Bilaro. Bilaro?
Good afternoon po.
Oh, good afternoon. What can you say? What is your opinion dun sa Be Drunk?
Dun po sa mismong structure po ng poem, ang napansin ko lang po, ginamit po yung word na be drunk as a metaphor po dun sa iba't ibang coping mechanisms ng isang tao. Pwede pong pwede pong para makalimutan yung mga struggles nila na experience everyday life, or pwede rin po para mawala yung attention nila sa reality or sa time po ngayon.
Okay, very good. Yan. So, gumamit ng metaphoric, no? Tingnan natin kung gumamit siya ng metaphor. Okay, very good. What else? Isa pa. What about the structure? What can you say the structure? Gusto tawag ka ng isa? Vale, thank you so much.
Absent po. Arsigal.
Absent. Also, walang absent. So, zero. 0 point. Pero yung dalawang sumagot, yes, meron po.
Si Alin Dogan po.
Allen Dogan. I think absent din siya. Andito ba siya? Vale?
Wala po ata.
Wala nga.
Absent
Okay.
po.
Go. Again. So, wala ding score.
Swaso po.
Swaso?
Yes po.
Good
Swazo?
afternoon po.
Thank you so much, Vale. Hi, Swazo. Swazo, what can you say about the structure of Be Drunk? Anong napansin mo? Doon sa structure tayo, ha?
Sa structure po, ma'am, di ba pag sa poetry po, meron po siyang rhyming. Dito po, wala pong, di po masyado. Pati ano po, simple paragraph lang po ito. Tapos, di ba po pag sa poetry, may bilang po. Pero pag yung napansin ko po dito, parang wala naman po.
Pero Buso,
Okay.
can we consider Be Drunk as a poetry? Pwede ba natin siya i-consider as a poetry? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes po.
Yes po, very good. Yes, of course. Pwede natin siya i-consider as poetry kasi di ba, poetry came from the Latin word poesis, meaning to make or to create. It depends upon dun sa ating poet's intent. Dun sa ating writer's intent. So, depende sa'yo kung anong gusto mo pong poetry. Ha? Okay. So, what about the structure of the language? Suwazo? Anong masasabi mo sa structure ng language?
Sa structure, simple po, ma'am. Di naman po siya ganun ka. Di ba po, ma'am, pag may mga language po tayo, yung super hirap po intindihin, yung
Okay.
di ba ganun po karamihan sa literature, yung mapapaisip ka masyado. Dito po, wala pong ganun kalalim na words.
Okay. So, meaning to say, can we consider Be Drunk as a prose? Yes or no?
Yes po, ma'am.
Yes po, very good. Kasi, napansin naman natin, ang bilis naman niyang intindihin. Okay? So, no need to be scorned. Yun nga lang, medyo malalalim na siya kasi nga may touch po siya ng poetry. So, ang tawag sa kanya ay poetic prose. Ayan. Pinagsamang prose at pinagsama pong poetry. Okay? So, continue si ma'am. Very good po. Although visually made to look like prose, especially its including part, this prose form contains such major poetic elements as personification. So, gumamit siya ng pagsasatao, ha? Parang binigyan ng buhay ang wind. So, the wind, the wave, the star, the bird, the clock will answer you. Okay, what else? Apostrophe. As the wind, as the wind, the wave, the star, the bird, the clock. So, naka-apostrophe siya, no? Para siyang may ine-emphasize. So, sabi doon, be drunk if you think ito po ay very helpful para sa'yo to be more, sabihin natin ay more, para mas maging, sabihin natin ay mas maging productive kang tao. Be drunk if you think mas mag-grow ka sa bagay na yun. Kung langong-lango ka sa isang bagay, if you think makakatulong ito sa'yo para ikaw ay mas mag-grow, para ikaw ay mas makalipad like the bird, para yung iyong clock, yung iyong orasan at the future, makikita mo maganda ang iyong future dahil alam mo sa sarili mo na nag-continue ka lang doon sa bagay kung saan ka langong-lango. No? Yung drunk na drunk ka. Lasing na lasing. What else? So if you think like the star, doon sa ginagawa mo, makakatulong to sa'yo to continually shining. So be it. The wave. Kasi nakakatulong yung wave. Nakaka-release siya ng stress. If you think yung ginagawa mo ay nakakatulong sa'yo upang makapag-release ka pa ng iyong nararamdaman para ikaw ay mas mag-grow, mas maging masaya, so be it. As the wind. If ang ginagawa mo ay mas binibigyan ka ng buhay, no? Masayang-masaya ka sa ginagawa mo, binibigyan ka nito ng life like the wind. So be it. Kung ito po ay for better, just go for it. But if for worse, stop it. Okay, what else? Ascend the tone. Everything that is flying, everything that is groaning, everything that is rolling, everything that is singing, everything that is speaking, and alliteration. Burden of time that breaks your back and bends, and the intensity of meaning characteristic of poetry, such as symbolism. Ayan. Gumamit siya ng symbolism. Okay? Being drunk itself is a symbol of passion and lust for life. Yung passion mo. Sabi nga, langong-lango ka sa sarili mo dun sa bagay na talagang gustong-gusto mong gawin dahil alam mo sa sarili mo na makakatulong to sa'yo. Go for it. Gustong-gusto mo siya. Gustong-gusto mong gawin ang bagay na yan. And the other uses of language, such as the hyperbole. Gumamit tayo ng hyperbole. Ma'am, ano po bang ibig sabihin ng hyperbole? Ito yung na word. Exaggerated. Yung parang, kakaiba. I can climb the mountain. I can pick the star. I can catch the wind. Hyperbole. So dito, ang ginamit na hyperbole ay you have to be always drunk. That is hyperbole. Hindi ka pwedeng laging lasing na lasing sa alak. Alit with the damage ang iyong liver, if that's all. So the meaning is reflected and intensified by elements of rhythm and repetition throughout the word. Be drunk, wine, poetry, virtue. Okay? Yung virtue, yung gusto mong gawin. Okay, next. So obviously, you need to be constantly alert to the poet's use of prose techniques and the prose writer's borrowing of poetic devices. The boundaries between the poetry and prose are not always clear, but here are some commonly accepted distinctions between the prose and poetry. Ibig sabihin, napakahirap daw po para sa atin ang palaging ipaliwanag kung ano ba daw po ang pinagkaibahan ng prose sa poetry. Pero ito pong mga nakasulat sa susunod na babasahin ni Ma'am, dito po ay very vivid kung ano po ang pinagkaibahan ng dalawa. Alright, basahin po ni Ma'am. Then with explanation. First, prose. Most everyday writing is in prose form. Okay? So, sinusulat natin pang araw-araw, prose po yan. Kasi nga po, that is the common language. Unlike the poetry, poetry is traditionally used to express something unusual in an imaginative manner. Hindi daw po katulad ng poetry, pag ikaw may binasa, kailangan ipapaliwanag mo pa, mag-i-imagine ka pa, para makapag-picture ka ng isang image to explain such things. Ganon. No, prose. Prose language is usually simple and devoid or ornamentation. Poetry's language is more expressive or ornamented with comparisons, rhyme, and rhythm, adding to distinct sound and feel. Okay? So dito, sa ating prose, sinulat lang siya ng bahala na. Sinalita lang siya ng bahala na. Unlike the poetry, the language ay more expressive. Kaya gumagamit tayo ng tinatawag nating metaphorical. We compare two unlike things. Rizal is like a star. Ganyan. Na? Okay, what else? Prose, ideas are contained in sentences which are then organized into paragraphs. So sa pagsulat, makikita natin na ang isang prose ay isinulat, sentences into paragraph, paragraph into sentences. Okay, poetry. Ideas are contained in lines which are then arranged in stanza. Unlike the poetry, makikita natin, nakasulat siya into lines. So sometimes, 4 na lines to make it 1 stanza. So kung yan ay 4 na lines, ang tawag po dyan ay quatrain. Okay? Sometimes naman po ay 3 lang po ang lines. But, may meaning. Like the haiku, that's 5, 7, 5 syllables but written in 3 line. What else? Prose. There are no line breaks. Sentences run to the right margin. So, hindi mo kailangan mag-line breaks. Hindi mo kailangan mag-comma. Pagkasalita ng isang word, comma. Isang word, comma. Isang word, comma. Isang word, period. Walang ganyan. Na? Sa prose. Unlike the poetry, line breaks are used in poetry for a variety of purposes, including the following structured rhythm or emphasizing an idea. Lines may be as long as brief as a single word or letter. Yan. Hindi daw po katulad sa poetry na talaga naman pong may line break. Bakit? Kasi naglalagay po ng line break ang isang poet to emphasize an idea para mas ma-emphasize siya, mas maidiin niya yung gusto niyang sabihin doon sa kanyang poetry. What else? The first word of every sentence is capitalized if we are talking about the prose, of course. If you are about to write an essay, kailangan niya naka-capitalize, naka-uppercase. Hindi maaaring magsulat ka ng isang essay na yung iyong determiner, the, and, a, ay naka-lowercase. Must be in uppercase, capitalized. Unlike the poetry, sabi dito, traditionally, the first letter of each line is capitalized, although many contemporary writers prefer not to adhere to this practice strictly. Hindi naman sinasabi sa atin na, okay, so poetry kailangan lagi kang naka-capitalize. Hindi. Kahit naka-small letter ka, naka-lowercase ka lang, go ka lang. Hindi naman po siya practice strictly. Adhere. Kailangan sundin. No? Walang ganyan. What else? Prose appears to be like the large blocks of words. Kasi nga po, siya po ay sentences into paragraph, paragraph into sentences. Kaya large block of words. Ang pagkakasulat niya ay bloke-bloke. Okay? To give information. Unlike the poetry, the shape of the poem may differ based on the line length and the poet's intent. Unlike the poetry, may line break. Minsan tuldok lang. Minsan comma lang. Like Jose Garcia did to his poem. No? Wrote his poem. Depende yon. Pag sinabi natin poetry, depende sa intention ng ating writer or the poet. Okay, continue si ma'am. Klaro tayo doon? Sorry, dire-diretso po ako. Klaro tayo doon, klaro?
Yes po.
Opo.
Malinaw po ang paliwanag ni ma'am.
Yes po.
Opo.
Question between the prose and the poetry.
Sana naman po.
Okay, continue ako. Thank you so much. So the personal benefits of poetry, meron talagang benefits ang pagsusulat, no? Whether you want to promote emotional well-being or test your intellectual prowess na tinatawag, reading or writing poetry has many benefits to offer. Here are the few of them. Number one, poetry can be very effective medium of expressing our feelings and getting in touch with our inner selves. Yan. Magandang bagay daw po ang pagsusulat ng poetry kapag nag-express tayo ng ating nararamdaman, yung nasa loob. Pangalawa, poetry is the great way to gain understanding of ideas, our spirituality, and the external world. Sometimes, ang poetry daw po nakakatulong upang mas maintindihan natin. Okay? Makakuha tayo ng pangunawa, ng understanding, ng ideas galing sa iba, sa mundo. Kasi sometimes sasabihin natin, life is so unfair. Pero, sa pagbabasa natin ng poetry, hindi. Sasabihin sa'yo ng poetry that you are fortunate. Na napakaswerte mong tao ka. What else? Poetry can examine thoughts, feelings, and connection between the individuals and their environment, including other people and the natural world. Yan. So, nagkakaroon tayo ng connection sa tao, lalo na dun sa sumulat. So, nagkakaroon tayo ng connection sa poet. Okay? Poetry can help you to express your creativity naman. Sa pagsusulat mo ng poetry, tinutulungan ka nito na maging creative. Ay, ngayon marunong na akong sumulat ng tula. Kaya ko pala. Dati iniisip ko, I can't. Dahil I am afraid to write. I am not good in grammar. But in poetry, I can express anything that I felt inside. Sabing ganyan, na? What else? Reading or writing poems has therapeutic and cathartic value. Yan. Totoo yun. Kaya nga minsan nakikita natin, I don't know lang kung kayo very conscious din sa mga bagay-bagay na ganito. Di ba minsan may nakikita tayo mga nakapost-post sa Facebook, tama ba? Agree ba kayo doon? Agree? Halimbawa, may tao masaya. Di ba nagpo-post agad siya, tama?
Yes po.
Yes po.
Halimbawa, ang tao malungkot, nagpo-post agad siya ng kanyang kalungkutan, tama po?
Yes po.
Yes po.
Yan. Kasi nakakatulong po yun, no? Wag lamang yung oras-oras, lagi ka nagpo-post. Para minuto lagi ka may post. Huwag naman ganon. I think that is a problem na. Seeking for attention na yun. Nabasa ko yun sa psychology. Seeking for attention na yun. Sometimes, kaya daw po gano'n, na post ng post time to time kasi gusto mo meron kang kausap. Okay? Continuous tayo. So, meaning to say, pag sinabi nating poetry, dun po mapasok yung tinatawag nating ars poetica. Ano ba yung ars poetica? Ma'am, ano po ba ang ars poetica? So, ars poetica is the Latin term meaning the art of poetry. Ano daw po ibig sabihin ng ars poetica? Ano daw po ibig sabihin ng ars poetica?
The art of poetry.
The art of poetry, very good. Or on the nature of poetry. The technique of ars poetica was obviously an attempt to capture the essence of poetry through poetry. The poet would write his poem, then step back, and his poem would become a way of knowing, of seeing, albeit through the senses, the emotions, and the imagination. Ayan. Dun sa art poetica na yan, an ars poetica poem is the poem examining the role of poets themselves as the subject, the relationship to the poem, and the act of writing. To write about poetry is to believe that there are the answers to some of the question poets as of their art, or at least that there are the reasons for writing it. Ayan. So sa pamamagitan daw po ng sa poetry ay nakikita natin, no? Ang emotions, nakikita natin yung beauty. Nakikita natin yung sabihin natin imahe na gustong ipakita sa atin ng poet. And sometimes ay dito ini-introduce ng poet ang kanyang sarili. Sino ba ako? Who am I? Okay? Who am I? Dito na-introduce niya sa kanyang poetry. Okay? So, nagkakaroon tayo ng sagot. Sino nga ba siya? So, example po ng ating poet ay si Jose Garcia Villa. So, let's look at Jose Garcia Villa's 3 poems on poetry, lyric 17, Be Beautiful Novel Like an Antique Aunt, and the Prom. And see how the views poetry. Yeah. Si Jose Garcia Villa was a Filipino poet, literary critic, short story writer, and painter. He was awarded the National Artist of the Philippines title for literature in 1973, as well as the Guggenheim Fellowship in Creative Writing by Conrad Aiken. He is known to have introduced the reverse consonant rhyme scheme in writing poetry, as well as the extensive use of punctuation marks, especially commas. Yan. Nakilala ng sobra po si Jose Garcia Villa, lalo na po doon sa kanyang poem na comma nga lang. Nagkaroon ng controversy doon. Okay? Ay tuturing bang poem yun? Comma lang siya, wala siyang ibang laman. Opo. Tandaan ha, ang poetry ay depende sa poet's intent. So, sabi dito, which made him known as the comma poet, he used the pen name Double John. Okay? Derived from the dove, eagle, and lion, based on the characters he derived from himself. Ayan. So, yung characters ng dove, yung characters ng eagle, yung characters ng lion, nagdi-describe po kay Jose Garcia Villa. Ano ba ang dove para sa inyo? Ano bang character meron ng isang dove? Ano po masasabi niyo sa isang dove? What can you say about the dove?
Symbol of peace po.
Very good. Symbol of peace. Ayan. What about an eagle? Ano masasabi niyo po sa eagle?
Freedom.
Freedom. Power of freedom. Very good. At saka, di ba, ang eagle ay very powerful na bird. Tama ba si ma'am? Na ibon? Tama
Yes
ba si
po.
ma'am? Yes po. According dun sa nabasa ko, only eagle can fly. Nakalimutan ko kung how many miles yun. Tapos, only eagle can fly. Yung super taas niya, kaya niyang sumalungat kahit nagaano kalakas na typhoon or bagyo. Nabasa ko yun sa isang article. No? What else? What about the lion? Ano ba characteristic ng isang lion?
Courageous po.
Courageous. Very good. Brave ba ang isang lion?
Yes po.
Yes po. So, yun. Ang lahat ng characteristic na yon, ng mga animals na yon, nagde-describe po do yun kay Jose Garcia Villa. Okay? So, tingnan natin yung kanya first poem. Ang ganda nito. Pero hindi ko po ito paano sa inyo. Basahin ko lang. First poem, a poem must be magical, then musical as seagull. It must be brightness moving, as holds secret at the bird's flowery. It must be slender as the bone, and must hold fire as well. It must have the wisdom of vows, and must kneel like a rose. It must be able to hear the luminance of dove and deer. It must be able to hide what it seeks like a bride. And overall, I would like to hover. God is smiling from the poem's cover. So very, very optimistic, no? Pag ito binabasa ko, parang, para bang ang daming magagandang bagay na ginawa ng Diyos sa atin upang i-cover tayo, upang tayo ay maging masaya. Okay? Oh, what do we need ay just to accept the fact na we are so blessed, we are so, sabi natin, gifted ang tao kasi only human being ay able to think. Okay? Ano pa? Ito po, isa pang poem niya. Poem by Jose Garcia Villa, the meaning of poem is not the meaning of the word. Totoo naman. Kasi kaya gumagamit tayo ng mga symbolic. Yan. So the meaning of the poem is symbol like the breathlessness of the bird. Okay? The poem cannot be repeated in paraphrase. The poem is not a thought, but a grace. A poem has no meaning, but loveliness. A poem has no purpose than to care. Yan. So, ang ganda ng ibig sabihin niya, no? So, ibig sabihin po ay, kumbaga ay, yung beauty. Okay? Yung beauty ng pagsusulat, yung beauty ng pag-express natin, yung beauty ng pagpapasalamat natin sa lahat ng bagay. Yan, naandito. Okay. So, ito po yung inyong assignment. Babasahin po ang poem sa akin. Okay? Yan. Ito po ang inyong assignment. Be beautiful, noble, like an antique aunt by Jose Garcia Villa. Be beautiful, noble, like the antique aunt, who bore the storms as he bore the sun, wearing neither gown nor helmet, though he was archbishop and soldier, wore only his own flesh, salute characters with gracious dignity, though what there is left to. Your own terms exact the universe is. Not too small, but this will be found. Some are exiled, they will be found. Speak with great moderation, but think with great fierceness, burning passion, though what the untaught, no annuals reveal, no his descendants break the seal. Ano pa? Trace the tracelessness of the ant. Every ant has reached this perfection. As he comes, so he goes, flowing as water flows. Essential but secret, like rose. Ayun. Kahit ang ant ay merong silbi. Ang ant ay nag-iiwan sa atin ng aral sa buhay. Totoo. Okay? So, ito po ang inyong gagawin. This will be submitted on next Sunday. Magpo-post na po ako sa Google Classroom after ng ating klase. Of course, write your name, score, subject and section, the date. So, pipicturean syempre yung inyong sagot. Then, yun po ang ilalagay niyo po dito na sa Google Classroom. Critic, activity, poem critic. Magkikritik po kayo ng poem. Directions. A critic is an oral or written discourse strategy for analyzing, describing, and interpreting works of art. Critics assist students in honing their persuasive oral and written communication, information processing, and reasoning skills. Fill in the blanks in chart below to describe, analyze, interpret, and judge the poem. Be beautiful, novel, like the Antique Aunt by Jose Garcia. So, sasagutan niyo po ito. Sino po ang author? Who is the author?
Jose Garcia Villa.
Very good. Ano po ang title ng ikikritik na poem?
Be beautiful, novel like the antique ant.
Very good. Be beautiful, novel, like an antique aunt. Okay, ito po ang gagawin ng aking ng aking Chem. Okay? Chem 4A. So, describe, what do you see in this poem? Ano po ang nakita niyo sa poem? Of course, as I said nga po, we have different interpretation for a certain text. Kasi iba't iba tayo ng pagtingin. Iba't iba tayo ng pangunawa. Okay? Sige nga, hingi ako ng isang sagot. What do you see in this poem? No? Taas lang ang kamay.
Again po, ma'am?
What do you see in this poem? Anong nakita po sa poem?
Ant po.
And, ayan, nakakita ka ng langgam. Very good. So, analyze, in what ways do the poetic elements are used in this poem? So, ano kaya daw yung poetic elements ang ginamit dun sa poem na? Next! Pwedeng gumamit siya ng personification. Okay? Then, interpret. What is going on this poem? Ano ba nangyayari? Ano ba nangyayari dun sa poem? Ano bang meron doon sa poem? So, kailangan unawain para ma-digest po ninyo. Actually, napakaganda po ng message ng poem. Na? And the last that you need to do, I judge. Do you like this poem? If so, why or why not? Gusto mo ba yung poem? Kapag sinabi mo po na oo, bakit mo siya gusto? Pag sinabi mong hindi mo siya gusto, bakit hindi mo siya gusto? Okay? To be submitted on next Sunday, alas 5 po ng hapon. After po ng ating klase, ay magpo-post na po ako. Alright. Question. Do you have any question, class?